What's up, guys? ATCG here. Welcome back to Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck of the Day. It's been a while since we made a video, but we're coming back strong with Domain Monarchs. It recently got a buff from the new Banlist. Aether went back to 2. Maybe Konami plans on giving us more cards back from the list. In the OCG, they've got everything. They've got 3 Aether, 3 Pantheism, and the deck's still not doing much, so maybe that's a cue for Konami to release Monarchs. Because I know that there are a lot of Monarch fans out there. The deck has been a fan favorite ever since the old times with the old school Monarchs. And now let's go to the deck profile and show you how a Domain Monarch deck should be played in this current day meta. So we start with 2 Ether. It's really important that we get back this card at 3, but at 2 is actually quite a buff as well, because this card is the main disruption of the deck. Other than just being a floodgate deck with a field spell, this card gives you interaction during your opponent's turn, because as a quick effect, you can banish one Monarch spell and trap from your graveyard to tribute summon this card during your opponent's turn, and then send 2 Monarch spell and trap cards with different names from your deck to the grave to spell summon another Monarch from your deck. So you pretty much can combo this card with Stormforth to tribute your opponent's monsters, and you can bring out certain monsters from the deck that also can interact during your opponent's turn. So it's by far the best card of the deck, and I think having it at 3 next Banlist will give this deck much more of a boost. And we're on 3 Erebus, the second best Monarch. It's a non-targeting spin from from hand, field, or graveyard back to the deck when it's summoned by sending 2 spells and traps from the deck to the grave. Pretty good turn 1 play. It minuses your opponent 1. It's kind of like doing a Levianeer during the first turn. And it's also another big body that can be protected and make sure that your domain lock is out. And the last big Monarch I run is Thestalos. I think one Thestalos is pretty good because you get information on your opponent's hand, and you also get to snipe a card that they need, and you can deal burn damage, so it can work in time as well. So I think the one copy is really important. And the last Monarch is one Kuraz. Kuraz is not as good as he used to be. His effect to destroy cards, I don't think you should use it on your opponent's cards. Actually, it depends on the matchup, but now there are a lot of times where giving your opponent draws is actually worse than popping cards on the field unless they're very important key combo pieces, like an LP or something. Against Salamangreat and Sky Striker, this effect is kind of irrelevant. So what you want to use this is you want to use it on your own cards to try to dig deeper into your deck so you can get to your plays. So I think one copy is pretty good. It was at 2 during the last builds, but 1 is just fine now. And main decking 3 Vanity's Fiend, because Vanity's Fiend locks out pretty much the majority of the decks. It's only mediocre against Sky Striker, but against anything else, just having this card, if they don't have that out in the main deck, then you can just outright win the game with one monster. And now for the Squires, 3 Idia, pretty good, gets you your Eidos from the deck, and you can get the extra normal summon, and if it goes to the grave, you can add one of your banished Monarch spells and traps back, so it's very good at recurring your one of Pantheism. And 3 Eidos, you get it with your Idia, you get the extra normal summon, and you can banish it from the grave to bring back your Idia, so you can keep doing the same thing every turn, so you can constantly have the plays you need. And I'm main decking 2 Link Slayer. Back in the day, people used to run red layer in order to have a free body that can be special summoned on the field, or it can also be tribute summoned to trigger your Return of the Monarchs in case you didn't have a Monarch. Link Slayer does exactly the same thing, while also being able to destroy back row. It's kind of like Twin Twisters. You can discard up to 2 cards and then target that many spells and traps on your opponent's field, and you can destroy them. So this deck can clear back row as well, because back row can hurt the deck. One Solemn Strike in the right time can pretty much put an end to the Monarch's turn. So Link Slayer is a really good monster, and it's a level 5, so you can tribute your Eidos or your Idia when you get Eidos to summon this to trigger your return, search the ether, and roll with your plays. And the only hand trap I run is Ash Blossom. I don't think this deck has the comfort of playing a lot of hand traps because Monarch is a very notorious bricky deck, so you kind of need a lot of cards to be able to play. So I think just running Ash gives the deck a little bit more going second power, while also not meddling with the consistency of the deck. Now for the spells, the one Pantheism. Pantheism, again, it's the most broken spell card in the deck. It gives you a draw 2, and you can also banish it to give search as well. It's at 1 right now. Maybe Konami will give us more copies later. But just the 2 Ether gives hope to Monarch players that Konami actually still remembers the deck and they might actually try to give it more power to the formats coming. 3 Tenacity, mainly searching your Pantheism. You can reveal a Monarch, you and search any Monarch spell and trap. Pretty good. 3 Stormforth. This card came back at 3 a while ago, and that's also a card that has been at 1 because the deck got hit very hard when it was at its prime. Aether, Pantheism, and Stormforth went to 1, and the deck was pretty much unplayable. Now it's pretty decent, but it still needs a little bit more. But Stormforth comboing with Aether is amazing disruption, and it's also a great card going second. You don't care about its restriction because, of course, we do not run an extra deck. This is Domain Monarch, so you want to lock out your opponent with Domain. So you can use Stormforth at its full potential. Next up, 3 Return of the Monarchs, the Searcher of the deck. When you tribute summon a monster, you get to add a monster with 24 attack and 1000 defense, or 28 attack and 1000 defense. And you can use your monsters from the extra deck. Again, you don't mind because you don't run an extra deck. So when you tribute someone during your turn, you get a card. When you tribute someone during your opponent's turn with Aether, you get a card. So this is how you go through your deck very fast. The Monarch's a deck that can run out of resources really quickly, so you need to know how to close up the game fast enough because at a certain point you will run out of gas and you won't be able to do anything more. And the last Monarch spell card is Domain. Of course, it's what the deck is named after. You decrease the levels of your Monarchs to summon them with 1 less tribute. It gives them an 800 attack when they attack. And of course, the notorious Floodgate effect where your opponent cannot summon monsters from the extra deck. So that's the main win condition of the deck. And for the generic spells, play 1 for 1, because it's the easiest way to get to Idia while not committing to your normal summon. So even if Idia gets stopped, you can still have a play. 1 Rota, because Idia is a warrior. Foolish. You mainly send Erebus with this, because Erebus, when he's in the graveyard, you can discard a Monarch spell and trap to add it back to your hand. But you can also send Idia to retrieve your Pantheism or any Monarch or any banished Monarch spell or trap card you want to continue with your plays, and 1 Upstart, because the less cards you can play in this deck, the better. And the last card of the deck is 2 Prime Monarch. With Pantheism at 1, I think running 2 of this card is okay. I would not run 3 with 1 Pantheism because it's a card that can clog your hand if you don't have a way to discard it. If we get Pantheism to 2 or better 3 copies, then I am definitely suggesting that you play 3 Prime Monarch, because it's a card that not only does facilitate you tribute fodder, but it's also the freest discard because you can summon it during your turn, you can summon it during your opponent's turn. It's the one monster. It's one more monster you need to summon Aether during your opponent's turn, because Stormforth you can only use 1 monster in your opponent's field, and you usually do not want to tribute your Monarch, especially if you have a Vantage Fiend, so you don't want to use the lock. So you just bring back the Prime, and you tribute it along with your opponent's monster. You get Aether. Aether will get you another Monarch, and you can get anything you want. You can get a Kuras to draw some cards, or you can get an Erebus, and Aether will return it to your hand during the end phase. So Erebus will give you a follow-up. So yeah, the deck pretty much functions as it used to. It still needs a little boost from the ban list. It needs some more cards back. I do not think the deck would be a meta destroyer like it used to be, even if it was at full power right now. It's way past its prime. The decks are now too strong. There are a lot of decks that don't even rely on their extra deck anymore, like True Draco and other control decks like that. So there are matchups that this deck would be pretty much useless against. So I think it would be a good thing for Konami to release this deck completely, because again, there are a lot of Monarch players, a lot of people love this deck, and I think it would be a great addition for the deck, and again, a great addition for the meta in general as another anti-meta deck, because we've gotten tired of True Draco, so give us more options. Thanks, Konami. So alright guys, thank you for watching, see you next time.